Welcome to this week's edition of Perspective, and today we are looking at the state of politics. Well, it's common knowledge that the one thing that is really trending is the impeachment of Kiambu County Governor Ferdinand Oititu, and of course swearing in of newly sworn in Governor Dr. James Nyoro. Well, to help drive that discussion, I'm joined by two gentlemen. On my immediate left is Josiah Driko, who is the Speaker of Embu County. Karibu sana, Bwana Speaker. Thank you. And of course, on my extreme left, Job Ndege, our leadership and governance expert, and of course, our resident analyst. Job, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
First things first, a very somber mood now has engulfed the country. 13 students are dead barely a year after we had such an incident. What do you make of that, Job?
Very, very sad. In fact, I would like to give my condolences to the family and friends of the 13 students, and I wish quick recovery for those who are injured, yes, because I read that some are still injured. I'm yet to get the facts as to what really happened, but whatever it is, we cannot be losing our children in institutions of learning like has happened now and has happened in the past. We have to really go deep and check exactly what it is that happened. Fix it, and if there are people who are actually culpable, we deal with them. Yeah. I think that's really what we do.
Honorable Speaker, what do you make of that? We've had this thing less than a year. We have the same kind of tragedy in schools.
Very unfortunate situation. Really sad that we've lost students in a school due to some stampede. This raises the critical issue of safety of our children in schools, and this needs to be addressed. Yes. Whether it is the infrastructural issue, whether it is a safety issue in the classrooms or wherever they are in our schools, I think the government now needs to do something. Nevertheless, I pass my sincere condolences to the family, friends and relatives of the late, and wish a quick recovery to the injured.
Job, we've seen Professor Magoha there talking about an audit. The court perhaps is the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing, because he has castigated the courts for allowing reopening of a school that had not been cleared after an incident. Should we now be having an audit perhaps of our schools in the wake of so many accidents that we're having nowadays?
In fact, it should not be something knee-jerk, Ben. It should be part of our processes and standard procedures that schools should be audited every so often, and that actually is, lies the remit of the Ministry of Education. So it's sad that the Cabinet Secretary is actually complaining that the courts actually gave a relief to one of those proprietors. But there must have been a reason why the court did that. So if all parties did their job, if the inspectors from the Ministry of Education had actually inspected that school well in advance of the tragedy and gave some measures, maybe a shutdown or a corrective measures, probably would not have reached the stage where the guy needs to have rushed to court now to actually do an overturn of that event. So the blame game should not really be there. I think the ministry should insist that its officers do what they're supposed to do, and then we'll see what happens if people run to court. Because the courts actually live with us.
Indeed.
Yes. So they may not be able to be making some orders which are actually against the public interest.
Indeed, we hope all our kids will be safe when they are in schools. Perhaps because of the interest of time, we will perhaps look at that much later. But Speaker, Honorable Speaker, Ferdinand Oititu was impeached in December. Last month he was impeached by the Senate, and of course a new governor was sworn in on Friday. Are you surprised?
No, I am not. Not at all. Embu has had its fair share.
Actually, it was the first county.
It was the first county to successfully impeach a governor, and Embu was the first county to have its decision validated by the Senate. So Kiambu now comes second. A few more counties had their decisions not validated by the Senate. Nyeri, Taita Taveta, Kericho. I was not shocked. I'm sure the issues surrounding the impeachment of Governor Oititu were both legal and political. And now that a decision has been made by Senate and a new governor has been sworn in, I think the only redress the former Governor Waititu has is to move to court. I'm sure he has moved.
Yes.
Let him argue his case, and who knows?
Job, were you surprised that the whole process actually from Senate to swearing in of a new governor took what, like 48 hours?
Yes, about 48 hours.
Yes.
I was really surprised, one, because the processes that were required actually were met. The Kiambu County Assembly did its job. The Speaker took that notice to the Senate. The Senate organized a sitting. They sat there for 2 days. So he was actually impeached. So thereafter there is nothing to wait for. Once someone has been impeached, Kiambu needed to move on.
Yes.
Yeah, so whereas people are saying that the Speaker moved with speed. Of course, once the time that the impeachment was happening, the Speaker only had 2 choices to make.
Yes.
There will be an impeachment or there will be none.
Yes.
And it was an impeachment.
Yes.
There was nothing wrong for him to have already prepared even a gazette notice.
Yes.
Such that the moment it's done,
Yes.
it's done over with. So I was so surprised. In fact, that's how justice should move. Justice delayed is justice denied.
Yes.
So if the people of Kiambu wanted their governor impeached,
Yes.
then the Senate gave it to them.
Indeed.
And all the institutions
Yes.
ran as perfect as they should. And
Yes,
fixed their
Job
work.
is saying, he's talking about the processes being used, but this morning we were with Waititu's lawyers. They're challenging that in court. And Waititu has questioned the whole process of how he was impeached in Kiambu, and also how the process was conducted here in Nairobi.
For the Senate.
Could there be any substance to perhaps to justify that? Because he talks about all the 2 agencies, the County Assembly of Kiambu and the Senate did not procedurally move him.
Well, Waititu can only challenge his impeachment on 2 grounds.
Yes.
One is on the procedure, and 2 is on the strength, maybe the strength of the grounds.
Yes.
The procedure is elaborate as per the impeachment bill of 2018. A member of the County Assembly who wants to move an impeachment motion does a motion to the Speaker of the County Assembly. The Speaker has 4 days to scrutinize the motion. If satisfied that the motion meets the required threshold, he approves it within 4 days. If he feels that the motion hasn't met the threshold, again within the 4 days, he should be able to inform the move of the motion of his refusal and the reasons.
And were all these steps followed in the Kiambu County Assembly?
I think that's what Waititu is challenging. Now, whether they were followed or not,
Yes.
once the Speaker writes to, the County Speaker writes to the Senate, hands over the certificate, hands over the notice of motion, and hands over any other documentation that was utilized in the impeachment, the Speaker's Senate has around 10 days to convene a meeting of the Senate and to over the notice of motion and hands over any other documentation that was utilized in the impeachment. The Speaker's Senate has around 10 days to convene a meeting of the Senate, and the initial meeting looks at the charges.
Yes.
Then he should forward either to a special committee. If not a special committee, then the whole Senate, like the case of Waititu, becomes now the committee, what we call the plenary.
Yes.
The first thing that the plenary does is to check whether Section 14 of the Impeachment Procedures Bill was followed by the County Assembly. If the process was not followed, then they will inform the Speaker of the County Assembly that they can no longer and they will not proceed with the motion. Now, the Senate having considered that and having considered it as the entire plenary, the first thing they did was to ensure that the County Assembly followed the entire process of Section 14 of the Impeachment Procedures Bill. After the 4 days, the move of the motion at the County Assembly is now allowed to give a notice. The notice is normally for 7 days. After the notice of 7 days, the mover is supposed to move the motion within 14 days. Within 2 days of the notice, the Speaker should advertise for something we call public participation. Once the public participation notice is given, the members of the public should within 5 days now submit any written memoranda or any other issue supporting or not in support of the motion.
And that is what Governor Waititu is challenging.
And that is what is challenging. Now, that will be left to the courts.
Yes.
Again, within 7 days of the actual debate of the motion,
yes,
the clerk to the county assembly should write to the governor,
yes,
informing him of the motion, 2, giving him the charges and the memoranda received, inviting the governor now to defend himself before the county assembly.
Yes.
I think that is what it is challenging. But more importantly,
yes,
he's challenging the fact that at the time of passing the motion,
yes,
the 2/3, the 2/3 rule
yes,
was not met. For a governor to be impeached, that motion must be passed by at least 2/3 of the members of the county assembly seated in that county assembly. And that is what it is challenging. The second thing is challenging is on the Senate.
yes.
That Senate, once the Speaker of the county assembly writes the Speaker Senate, the Speaker Senate should within 10 days
Yes,
convene the first meeting.
yes,
And after convening the first meeting, then within 14 days, the special committee, if not the special committee, the entire plenary should now sit. I think those are the two issues that Governor Waititu is challenging. And we leave that to the court.
Okay, Job, you do remember Governor Martin Wambora was impeached, but he sought redress at the courts.
Yes.
There are 3 charges that were leveled against Waititu, and after the Senate had a sitting, they deduced that those were enough grounds for him to leave office.
Yes,
what
all the 3
happens
charges,
if
yes,
the court clears him and says, no, this guy is innocent?
Now, 2 things.
Yes.
One is going to be a pretty difficult decision for the court.
Yes.
But generally, there's a principle that if the courts will follow it, the legal experts will tell you, you can't issue an order that is in vain. That's one principle.
Yes.
The other principle is that you must be fair to everybody who comes and seeks justice. So they have those 2 things to weigh.
Yes.
If truthfully Waititu seeks justice and he gets it, then the courts must give him relief. Now, what kind of relief will he get from the courts? That's what we are going to see, if he has made it. If, for some reason, the court decides actually that the thing was fair, the grounds that he is suing for are fair, then the status quo will remain and Governor Nyoro will continue doing what he does and the county government continue. Yeah. So those are the 2 weighted issues we are going to take. And then we hope that for fairness, the court will also proceed quickly.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
so that
yes,
this ends quickly. Because there's actually a danger that this thing may be determined close to 2022.
Yes,
We
yes.
have all those
And
issues, yes.
the same danger,
Yes.
Wambora got some reprieve because the court said, no, he cannot be thrown out of office before his case is had
Exactly.
determined. But
Exactly.
it has been different for
Waititu, yes. During Governor Wambora's impeachment,
Yes.
we didn't have the current act
Yes.
in place. This act came into place in 2018. What Waititu has challenged in court should be determined within 30 days.
Yes.
After 30 days, if the matter goes, I think, to the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeal, again, it should be determined within 45 days. So I think the timelines are well set. And if he's able to prove his case, especially on the procedure and the threshold, then who knows, like I said before, you could
The
be
courts
back.
are independent.
Yeah, the courts are independent.
Yeah, and we of course, will.
His earlier term left the work of implementation and of budget making
Yes.
to the troops that are required, Parliament and the Budget Office.
Indeed.
But he has realized that that was not working because those guys, first the Treasury failed him.
Yes.
And it's good that CS Rotich and Kamau Tuge
Yes.
were kicked out of Treasury. They completely failed the president.
Yes.
Second, the MPs have failed him. Unfortunately, he has not dealt with the MPs yet. In my view, when the new term of Parliament comes in,
Yes.
the president needs to reorganize Parliament. He must make sure that you have MPs who know what they need to do.
Yeah.
They take control of the budget. They are representatives of the people. They need to be the first people to be able to respond to what people require to be done, rather than crying to the president, who actually does not make budget.
1 minute.
Yes, so good for the president.
Yes.
He's, I think he has realized that things are not moving on well, and he has decided to take charge by himself. And he started some times back. We've seen him talk about corruption.
Yes.
He has given enough warnings to public servants. He has taken decisions against the corrupt public officials. Now he has taken charge of actual development. The complaint was that the president was missing in action.
Yes.
Now he has taken charge. We saw him in Nyandarua.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing.
Yes.
He was in Nyandarua.
Yes.
He was in Kirinyaga.
Yeah.
He was in Meru.
Yes.
And I'm sure he's going to replicate that in other parts of the country.
Okay.
I wish him well.
Okay.
And support him fully.
Thank you, dear gentlemen. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I have been hosting two formidable gentlemen right here on Perspective. We are discussing state of politics in Kenya, and particularly we've touched on the impeachment of Ferdinand Waititu, plus the president's being hands-on on projects that he actually started. Thank you indeed so much for watching. Business News is coming up next. Gentlemen.